Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I think we will get started now. Just a few points of housekeeping for you to go on with. The slides will be shared with you after the event, probably in the next couple of days, together with a link. We are recording this, so we will send you a copy of the recording afterwards. I should say I'm Claire. I am the events executive at Bristol Law Society. We're very pleased to have you all here today. We have Rebecca Vincent. She is, one moment, let me just pull up my notes. Rebecca works as the Employment Engagement Advisor at Weston College. She's been taking part in this for opportunities for apprenticeships and trainees within the profession, and she bases this around her employer's work planning. We also have Max Weedon. He is the subject area manager for Weston, and he's been doing this for around 5 years. He also delivers paralegal apprenticeships and through the LLB programs at universities. He's also an assessor for the awarding body of ILEX. So without further ado, I will hand over to Rebecca and Max to carry on the webinar. If you have any queries and questions, please do put them in the Q&A function and we will address them at the end. The presentation will be for 30 minutes, so we have around about 30 minutes for questions. So over to Rebecca and Max.
Brilliant. Hi everyone, thanks for coming today. Claire's already introduced both myself and Max, so I think we can skip on to the next slide, please, Max. That's brilliant. So just a little bit about Weston College. Over the years, we've expanded a lot. We always put the learner first, and we're Ofsted outstanding in all areas, which is great. We've extended now so that we've got 6 campuses all across North Somerset and also City of Bristol now. We've got various awards, as you can see on the slide here, and we've also won the Bristol and Bath Apprenticeship Provider of the Year for 2018, 19, 20 and 22. See, that's just a bit about Weston College really and where we are now. So if we go on to the next slide. To start off the presentation, I know there's a lot of myths around an apprenticeship, so we've got this lovely little video here that we're going to play you now, and this just busts some of the myths with regards to apprenticeships. There you go. That was just a short video there, busting some of the myths surrounding apprenticeships. So if we move on to the next slide, Max. So these are some of the benefits to employers. There's several benefits for apprenticeships to employers, but these are just some listed here. I won't bore you by reading the exact points that I've written on the slide, but we'll just go into each of them in a bit more detail. So recruit and retain future talent and address skill shortages. The area I like about this, I suppose, is that with apprenticeships, we're constantly updating what is involved in apprenticeship. For instance, with our management level 5, we now do a big unit on emotional intelligence, and as we've gone through the years, that's such a big important factor now in our workforce. upskilling existing staff to help with staff retention. I think staff like something to get their teeth into. They like to be challenged. We can't always offer pay rises or as much as we want to. That's not practical. So I think definitely giving employees the chance to upskill and gain extra qualifications is a really great way of helping with staff retention and also existing staff that you do have working for you. There's lots of funding available for employers for apprenticeships. If you are a non-levy paying employer, the government will pay 95% of the apprenticeship qualification, which is great. And there's also an incentive out at the moment. So if you employ a 16 to 18-year-old, the government actually give you £1,000, and that's split into 2 payments. You get one payment at 4 months of £500 and one roughly around 13 months of another £500. So that really helps, especially some of the smaller businesses. I think that's really invaluable. Apprentices are motivated to learn new skills. When we take on apprentices, they know how long the apprenticeship is going to last. So I think they're really motivated to stay for the duration. If we've got apprenticeships that last 12 months, 24 months, up to 4 years. And I think it really helps with motivating the staff there. You can hire apprentices at all different levels, and I think this is something that we really need to get out there. It's not just school leavers. Yes, apprenticeships are great for school leavers, but apprenticeships are also amazing for people that might have been in the sector for 5, 10, 15 years, people that want a career change, people that just want to upskill. They really are for everyone now, and there isn't age specific. And we have a free recruitment service at the college, which I think is brilliant. We can, if you want to recruit an apprentice, we can advertise that on the Weston College apprenticeship website, but also the government apprenticeship website. That enables anyone from across England to apply for the apprenticeships. We will then shortlist all candidates for you if you want us to. We can ring up each candidate, make sure that they fit the criteria that you're asking for, make sure that they're eligible. We can make sure that they know where you're based and that they can get to you. We can make sure that they're aware of what the apprenticeship is and the commitment needed. And then after we've shortlisted all candidates, we can send the final candidates through to yourself to do the final interview and make that final decision. And lastly, each employer has a dedicated account manager. So I'm one of the account managers. I look after the professional services sector. So you would be assigned to myself, and I would be your contact throughout the entire process from start to finish and in between. If there's any questions at all, you've got that one person that you can contact and that will always get back to you. The next slide, please, Max. This is a list of the available professional services apprenticeships that we currently have. There are other apprenticeships, but they sit under construction, engineering, animal management, sport, areas like that. But these apprenticeships range from, we've got the paralegal level 3, business admin level 3, customer service level 2 and 3. We've got the AAT level 2, 3 and 4, HR level 3 and 5, marketing level 3, recruitment resourcer level 2. We've got the project management level 4 and 6 degree. I'm especially excited about this one. I think degree apprenticeships are amazing ideas. The level 6 apprenticeship is a 4-year apprenticeship, and the students got a degree at the end of it. Our project management degree is also remote, so we're working with people all the way up to, or where's our furthest? Newcastle. I think we've got someone joining us for that one. We've got our management level 3 and 5 qualifications. I've just done my level 5 personally. It was a really, really good apprenticeship, really enjoyed it. And it also taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about myself, my leadership style, and also it taught me areas where I should actually be improving on and concentrating on. And lastly, we've got our digital and technology solutions level 6 degree apprenticeship as well. Next slide, please, Max. And over to Max.
Thank you, Becky. So this asks what a paralegal apprenticeship is, and as an apprenticeship, it's a form of employment alongside training. So it can be used to recruit new staff by offering paralegal vacancies or paralegal apprentice vacancies. Or it can be used to develop existing staff, to provide training to existing staff so that they can progress into paralegal roles. The key reasons why it's a good way to do both is the first point there. It provides academic training alongside on-the-job experience and training, whilst of course being funded as an apprenticeship, so funded from the levy, or in the case of non-levy paying employers with 95% government funding. So those are the three key points: the academic training, the fact that it provides on-the-job experience, putting that into practice, but also the way that it's funded as an apprenticeship. The academic training is delivered flexibly. We use a range of methods to provide convenience for employers and the apprentices themselves. This covers the academic training, covers the basics of the English legal system, the specialist area of law relevant to the apprentice's work, and training in legal practice based on practical tasks involving that area of law, and professional skills. Specifically, the professional skills cover written communication skills with clients, interviewing clients, the rules of professional conduct set by the SRA, and legal research skills. One of the questions that we had in advance of the webinar is whether a paralegal apprenticeship is suitable for a firm which only specialises in a certain area of law and practice. And we can see from that first point that yes, it would be. They don't need to study different seats in the same way as a solicitor might. They can work in one area of practice, they can specialise, and the paralegal standard facilitates that. So the academic training does cover the English legal system, does cover generic professional skills, but it also covers a specialist area of law and practice. The on-the-job training is based on achieving 12 learning outcomes set objectively in this paralegal standard. This is managed between a Weston College assessor, a specialist in legal practice, and the apprentice's line manager. So over the duration of the apprenticeship, the apprentice needs to, through their work, for example, show that they've understood relevant regulatory requirements. That could be evidence to show that they've met one of these learning outcomes. Another learning outcome could be legal research into an issue. Or another one could be to show that they've produced error-free correspondence with clients and with colleagues. Both the academic and the on-the-job training are focused on developing the skills and knowledge required for the role of a paralegal. So both elements, the practice and the academic training, are all designed to build up to these endpoint assessments. The endpoint assessments which they complete in order to pass the apprenticeship. If they need to resit any part of the endpoint assessments, they have the opportunity just to resit that one part. The endpoint assessments effectively measure whether or not they are, at the end of the apprenticeship, objectively, whether they are an effective paralegal. They're very practically based. It's based on an interview and timed assessments based on practical tasks that a paralegal would do in that specific field that they've chosen, that pathway that they've chosen. So after the EPAs, where does this lead? Well, by passing the EPAs, they've demonstrated that they are now a competent paralegal, which of course means that they can then build experience in practice. So that's a good outcome in itself, but it can lead to further progression. You can see here that successful completion of the EPAs allows exemptions from the CPQ foundation stage, which is now the first stage to become a chartered legal executive. So from this list, and I appreciate the font's quite small, we can send out the slides. We will do, and you'll be able to read that. We've also got leaflets which go into more detail about the exemptions which are allowed. But the key message from this slide is that completing the endpoint assessments means that they'll be exempt the first stage to become a chartered legal executive. The first step. It's not the entire foundation stage. I'll explain where this fits in with this diagram. So this is the new SILEX professional qualification. It's a new framework which replaces the level 3 and level 6, which most of you will be familiar with, the level 3 SILEX diploma and the level 6 SILEX diploma. So those qualifications existed for 14 years, and I expect most of you are already familiar with those. Existing students can still finish the old framework. They have 3 years to finish the old framework. The new framework, CPQ, looks like this. There's 3 stages to becoming a SILEX lawyer, as they're called now. The CPQ foundation stage, the CPQ advanced stage, and the professional stage. The successful completion of the EPAs allows exemptions from this foundation stage. As you can see, it's 6 units. They'll be exempt either 3 or 4 of those units based on the pathway that they've chosen. And then they only need to complete, pay for and pass exams in the final units to become a SILEX paralegal, a SILEX. And this will be the point where graduates with a law degree switching to SILEX would join anyway. So there's only a little difference between the exemptions that a law graduate would have and somebody who's successfully passed the EPAs. So how do we deliver the apprenticeship? The planned duration is 18 months, but that can be extended to 24 months, a maximum of 24 months for resits and other delays. There can be delays which cause someone to defer an exam. It's not uncommon. The average completion time, we've been running these for 5 years. We've had around 40 people complete the paralegal apprenticeship, and it's been on average around 21 months. We have had people complete it very quickly, and we've had people take a little bit more time as well. And there's even been extensions beyond 24 months where they are extenuating. But typically 18 to 24 months. So the planned 18 months is split into 3 13-week terms with summative assessments in January and June. So they study the introduction to the English legal system, their specialist area of law and practice, and they complete practical tasks on legal research and client care skills. And they usually have these summative assessments based on that academic training in January and June. So each of those areas will be taught by 13 1-hour, 30-minute lessons by a structured course. And then they receive a summative assessment at the end of each unit, of each part. Then they progress to the next part of their study, and they're eventually prepared to do the EPA. We expect them to do an hour's preparation. We set homework Each course is very structured in that way. It's divided into 13 lessons, and after each lesson they get homework based on what they've covered in the lesson, which we'll run through with them at the start of the following lesson. It's a tried and tested method. We've been doing this one a while. Our pass rates are much better than the national average. Since this slide, we've had the January 2023 results, where our level 3 results were up to 97%. Our level 6 results were 88% passed, which compares very favourably. A lot of SILEX students, as you're probably aware, study by distance, in isolation, that they don't have regular contact with a tutor. That would not be the case with us. We have weekly contact through live lessons, but we also provide resources via virtual learning environment as well. Although we're focusing on paralegal apprenticeships, there are other legal qualifications offered by the college. We offer the Law A-level, we offer the Level 6 Diploma in Law and Practice and Graduate Fast Track Diploma, which SILEX are still running until 2026. So students have 3 years to finish their existing qualifications. We still have very healthy cohorts of students looking to finish those qualifications before they're withdrawn. And then we'll look to run the new framework, the CPQ, for people who pass the paralegal apprenticeship and are ready to progress to, after perhaps experience in practice, to the next stage of their progression to becoming SILEX lawyers. Okay, so we've reached the end of the slides. I understand Claire's got questions which have already been sent in, and although I can't see the chat, I think Claire's going to let me know if there's any other questions for myself or for Rebecca.
That's right. Thanks very much, Max and Rebecca, for that very useful insight into apprenticeships, paralegals. We have had a number of questions in advance, so please do feel free, if you have any burning questions that you wish to ask Max and Rebecca, please do put them in the Q&A box now, and we will address them after the ones that we've received. So to both of you, will SILEX be offering an apprenticeship option at all, and if so, when?
Yes, indeed. The paralegal apprenticeship has SILEX as a endpoint assessment organisation. So the apprenticeship explained there is effectively a SILEX apprenticeship. And if I go back to the diagram, this would allow somebody to make progress towards becoming a SILEX lawyer by completing the endpoint assessments. They're exempt the majority of the foundation stage. There's also the Chartered Legal Executive Apprenticeship. We've had 5 people complete the Chartered Legal Executive Apprenticeship, and that encompasses the whole process from being from having no legal qualifications all the way up to becoming a fully qualified Chartered Legal Executive. We'll be looking to restart that once we are running CPQ, the new framework. Currently, we're allowing our existing students up until 2026 to finish the previous framework that SILEX ran.
Wonderful, thanks, Max.
I hope that's answered the question, but
I think, yes, that has definitely answered the question.
If any more clarifications needed, just obviously put the question in the Q&A and I'll do my best.
Marvellous. The next one is there a limit on how many apprentices that you can have? Presumably this is directed at a firm as to how, is there a limit to how many that firm can employ?
No, there isn't. There was a limit. Well, I suppose there still is a limit on SMEs, but in the new guidelines that have been released, SMEs used to only be able to have 10 apprentices, and they've got rid of that rule now. So no, there is not a limit.
Great. So that means that you can have as many as you like, or
Yeah.
is there a major upper limit? So like sort of 30 or 40? None at all?
No, none.
Brilliant. That's really good. Okay. What are firms doing to tackle the issues around increasing levy spend?
I suppose it's just workforce planning. It's great with us at Weston College because you've got an account manager that's assigned to you, and it's just looking where best to spend that levy, really. And it's not about just recruiting new staff. You can upskill the existing staff that you've got, so you don't need to pay another member of staff another hourly wage. You can spend that levy on the staff that you've got and the staff that have been working for you for sometimes years and years. So it's just looking where really those skills gaps are in your business, looking at what areas you might need to upskill in, and yeah, planning how to spend that money.
Brilliant. On to the next question then. How do we make sure the position is valuable for both parties if the apprentice is not able to fee earn?
I can answer one half of that question, and I think Max, you might be able to help with the end. So, sorry, Claire, can you ask that question again?
Yes, certainly. How to make sure the position is valuable for both parties if the apprentice is not able to fee earn?
Okay, great. Well, with the apprenticeships come what we call an apprenticeship standard, and that outlines every unit, every skill, every knowledge that the apprentice is going to work upon. So as an account manager, when I first meet with you, you may share their job descriptions with me, or we'll just talk about their role. And we will make sure that that role ticks off every single box for the apprentice. So Max, can you answer the question about how it will help the employer at all?
Well, I think there will inevitably be tasks with any legal matter which can be delegated, which can have an apprentice, a paralegal apprentice, shadowing, and then gradually taking out more responsibility without necessarily having to fee earn. But the other point is that eventually they will, when they progress from the paralegal apprenticeship. The intention is that they can fee earn as paralegals. So it is valuable for both the employer to be able to develop staff, future fee earners. They have to start somewhere, and it's valuable for the apprentice, obviously, to have that experience and progression.
Wonderful. Are apprenticeships appropriate for small or niche firms where there is less opportunity for an apprentice to experience a breadth of legal practice?
This was the question I saw beforehand, and I tried to answer when I went through the earlier slide, that they study an area of law relevant to their work and an area of practice relevant to their work. They don't have to study more than one area of law or more than one area of practice, and they don't have to work in more than one area of practice either. It's not the same.
Pathways, isn't there, Max?
Exactly. They pick a pathway, and both their academic training, their experience from which they produce their portfolio, and their eventual EPAs will all be focused on that pathway. So there's no need for them to work in a broad range of areas of practice.
What happens if the apprentice is not certain which area they would like to practice in? Is there a way that they can experience a number of areas before they specialise?
They don't have to pick their EPAs immediately. It's not a decision which has to be made until 3 months before the end of the apprenticeship. That said, they do need to choose their area of law and practice within the apprenticeship. They can certainly do the first term where they study the English legal system, where they will gain an understanding of a diverse range of work that practitioners can do. And that may help them make their decision while they're working for a firm, also seeing the realities of practice and getting a better idea of what area of practice they may enjoy.
Great. Okay, the last one of the pre-submitted questions. What are some examples of great progression in the business following a successful apprenticeship?
Well, I'm not sure I can give any names of individual apprentices or employers, but we certainly had a lot of people over the 5 years successfully complete paralegal apprenticeships and then go on to complete their further units to finish the framework and become chartered legal executives. And we have some who are just finishing their last units this year, who started with us as a paralegal apprentice when we first ran these qualifications in 2018. They're now finishing and getting fully qualified. I don't know what I can do about specific examples without, I suppose, asking for their consent and writing an article about it, which I could do.
Would you expect them to get to associate level in firms or that sort
Yes.
of? I think that's much.
Indeed, there's partners of law firms. There's probably more than 500 partners of law firms now who are chartered legal executives rather than solicitors. There are even judges who have never done law degrees. They've qualified through the SILEX pathway. There's around a dozen. There are plenty of progression opportunities, and those could, now that apprentices have been run in SILEX for the last 5 years, those opportunities will be available to them equally to as they are for people who study SILEX without an apprenticeship.
Right. Anything further to add there, Rebecca?
Well, I suppose just with any of our apprenticeships, they're great for progression. It's not just the paralegal, we've got our management qualifications. They teach you all about line management skills, people skills, emotional intelligence. All these things really underpin your skills to move forward and to go for promotions and interviews.
I've just thought of something to add related to the other apprenticeships that Becky mentioned. We've had a lot of people progress from business administration apprenticeships to paralegal apprenticeships. So although this could be used, the paralegal apprenticeship could be used for school leavers, they could first do a business administration apprenticeship. And we've had a few students do that before their paralegal apprenticeship, and that might tie in with the query that was raised earlier, how they would find out more about legal practice before they choose their pathway.
Yeah, I've also got I've got 3 learners enrolling onto our project management degree apprenticeship that currently work in law firms as well. And our level 3 and level 5 management qualifications are also really popular in all sectors.
So you can use them as a springboard to other things if you want to.
Definitely, yeah.
Good. Okay, that's useful to know. I think many people would think that you'd have to start off with one and not convert it. So is there a number an amount that you wouldn't be able to do? So say you wanted to do 3 or 4 of these apprenticeships, is that possible?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. The only thing that we'd have to look into is that sorry, it slipped my mind now. If you've been in a role, say you've been a project management manager for 5 years and you already have all the skills, Max, can you remind me of what that's called, where you need to meet 50% of the criteria?
Sorry, I'm not following you.
Where you have to be able to learn 50% has to be new information and new skills that you learn in order to.
I think that would be a question for an assessor,
Right, okay.
rather than the academic side. Sorry.
Fine. Sorry, Claire, I'll have to
No,
find
no, no, that's fine. So you have to, the course that you enroll in, you have to learn 50% more than what, yes, okay, so new material rather, so you couldn't do the same thing again, basically. No. Okay, that's fine. Okay,
Thank you for explaining that.
we've had another question in. Are there plans to offer solicitor apprenticeships in addition to paralegal apprenticeships?
Well, I believe we have a partnership agreement with University of West England, and they offer the solicitor apprenticeship. To do the solicitor apprenticeship, you need to do the SQE 1 and 2. I believe it takes about 3 years if you've already got a degree. While we're offering the paralegal apprenticeship, I don't think we'd be offering the solicitor apprenticeship in competition with university where we have a partnership agreement.
Okay, that's fine. That's all the questions that we have in currently. Please do feel free to pop them in the box if you still have questions to run. I'll just wait a couple of minutes just to see if there is anything more, and then we'll wrap it up so that you'll at least get part of your lunch hour. Anything further? Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much to both Max and Rebecca for a very insightful webinar today on apprenticeships.